In February 1944, as Allied bombers crossed Germany nightly, Nazi radio promised weapons that would end the war in weeks. The clock was the enemy. Every broadcast converted delay into destiny, turning collapsing fronts into secrecy and buying time with belief. Germany's problem was arithmetic. Fuel shortages, pilot losses, and bombing curves made victory impossible. Propaganda filled the gap, replacing numbers with inevitability. What could not be produced at scale was implied, exaggerated, and wrapped in silence. A junior official at the propaganda ministry logged requests from party leaders, asking for ranges and dates. He was ordered to respond with abstractions. Retribution, thunder, final phase. Precision was withheld because precision could be disproven. The V-2 was real. It flew, it struck, and it terrified. It also consumed immense resources, killed forced laborers, and delivered little strategic effect. Its physics worked. Its promise did not. Yet its existence legitimized everything whispered afterward. Engineers warned that cadence mattered more than novelty. Launch rates were too low, accuracy too crude. The math never closed. So secrecy became a multiplier, allowing leaders to trade measurable failure for imagined escalation. The Me-262 reinforced the pattern, faster than Allied fighters, undeniably advanced, and catastrophically mistimed. Engines failed early, pilots lacked hours, fuel vanished. A genuine breakthrough strangled by systems, then reborn as legend. Intelligence officers noticed that every real advance arrived wrapped in larger claims. The wrapper traveled farther than the truth. Each success inflated expectations for the next, creating a ladder of myths anchored to shrinking facts. SS compartmentalization amplified the effect. Projects were split so no one saw the whole. This was not just security, it was theater. Partial knowledge encouraged speculation, and speculation did the work propaganda could not. Allied analysts tracked rumors like metrics. Spikes followed defeats. When fronts collapsed, stories bloomed. The correlation suggested Wunderwaffe myths were reactive tools, tuned to morale rather than engineering reality. The factory was not a place, but a process. Take a real edge, hide its limits, amplify its aura, and let enemies imagine the rest. That imagination became a weapon independent of steel or fuel. Radio Berlin escalated language as reality tightened. New weapons became decisive forces. Dates vanished. Conditions appeared. Vagueness was intentional, letting belief stretch where schedules could not, and turning uncertainty into psychological mass. The V-1 followed the same logic. Cheap, numerous, inaccurate. Militarily blunt, psychologically sharp. London planners calculated limited impact, yet civilians felt the threat daily. Fear traveled farther than blast radius, validating exaggeration after the fact. Internal memos admitted morale effects outweighed battlefield results. One note stated, "Terror compensated for inaccuracy." The weapon's legend mattered more than its hit rate, because legend required no supply chain once released. Secrecy bred mutation. When programs went dark, rumors filled gaps. Flying discs, sonic cannons, gravity weapons. Each myth borrowed credibility from real projects, then escaped any technical leash. German counterintelligence rarely corrected exaggerations. Silence worked better. Enemies overestimated. Civilians hoped. Engineers avoided accountability. Myths reduced pressure to deliver numbers they could never reach. The SS exploited this deliberately. Fragments were leaked. Odd shapes, strange materials. Knowing imagination would finish the design. Compartmentalization became an engine for folklore, rather than protection. Allied interrogations captured the effect. Prisoners described weapons they had never seen, with details stitched from radio, gossip, and fear. Confidence rose as evidence vanished. When Me-262 losses mounted, propaganda reframed scarcity as strategy. Held back, awaiting the moment, secret squadrons. Absence became proof. Delay became power. By early 1945, myth density peaked. As Germany collapsed, stories multiplied. Underground cities, super bombs, miracle fuels. The less the Reich could show, the more it claimed. The factory ran hottest at the end. Collapse required belief to outpace reality, and for a brief, dangerous interval, it succeeded. After surrender, the myths did not die. They migrated into Allied files already warped by rumor and urgency. Seized documents mixed facts with theater, forcing analysts to separate working physics from deliberate illusion, without reliable baselines. Operation Paperclip deepened confusion. Real engineers arrived with real achievements, validating parts of the legend. Their silence about failures preserved the aura propaganda had built, while selective briefings kept limitations off the record. American planning recycled the template. Promises preceded proofs. Hypersonic futures and atomic delivery were sketched with confidence borrowed from German claims. The Wunderwaffe method proved reusable across flags. Soviet intelligence mirrored the process. Each side assumed the other had captured a missing key. Mutual overestimation hardened into doctrine, driving races built on shadows rather than inventories. Journalists filled gaps with speculation. Bells, discs, vanished labs. Each story traced back to genuine programs, then leapt free of documentation. Myth gained mobility once divorced from production data. A feedback loop formed. Propaganda birthed myths. Myths shaped intelligence. Intelligence shaped policy. Policy funded research chasing the myths back toward reality. The loop rewarded belief at every step. The Me-262's afterlife shows the arc. Jets became standard, not miraculous. The myth promised salvation. Reality delivered evolution. Memory preserved the promise longer than the lesson. Declassified reviews admit early Cold War estimates overstated German leads. The error wasn't ignorance, but inheritance. Myths designed to be believed, now believed by new custodians. By the 1960s, UFO narratives absorbed Wunderwaffe motifs: speed, secrecy, recovery. Symbols outlived sources, becoming cultural shorthand for unseen advantage. The factory never closed. It changed owners. Its product remained plausible, wonder stretched just beyond verification. Psychologists studying morale concluded belief itself had operational value. When enemies planned for ghosts, resources diverted. When civilians hoped for miracles, dissent softened. Expectation became a weapon, tuned by scarcity and fear. Production logs reveal how limits were hidden. Scrap rates climbed, tolerances failed, engines cracked. Reports were delayed or split across offices so no single ledger exposed collapse. Fragmentation protected the story. The V2 hardened the lesson. Inefficient yet transformative in narrative terms, its arc through the sky became proof of inevitability, masking the arithmetic that doomed its strategic value. Counterfactual files, what never worked, were buried. Archives favored success stories. Absence curated memory, leaving a highlight reel future readers mistook for the whole film. Intelligence estimates institutionalized rumor. Possible, probable, credible. Each label added weight. Over time, qualifiers fell away, and conjecture acquired the tone of fact. Design bureaus chased silhouettes. Specifications followed stories. Programs launched to answer claims no one could source. Myth became requirement. Requirement became budget. Failures fed the machine. Cancellations were explained as secrecy. Too advanced, premature, political. The explanation preserved belief while shelving evidence. Archivists later found circular citations, reports citing reports that cited broadcasts. The loop looked scholarly, but rested on echoes. Breaking it required documents already removed. By the late Cold War, Wunderwaffe myths became teaching tools. They warned about hype while inspiring ambition. The contradiction kept them alive. What began as delay tactics matured into a durable narrative technology, transferable across regimes and decades. The Allied lesson was uncomfortable. Demystifying enemy claims reduced urgency, while inflating them secured funding. Ambiguity was tolerated. Silence replaced correction. And the myth factory found new patrons who benefited from uncertainty. Language drifted to protect possibility. Failures became immature. Limits became classified. Timelines became indeterminate. Each word preserved belief while avoiding falsification, keeping programs alive long enough to justify themselves. Wunderwaffe stories also redistributed blame. Leaders blamed defeat on timing, not judgment. Engineers cited sabotage, not design. Myths absorbed accountability and returned it as hope, a currency more liquid than fuel. Museums later displayed artifacts without context. A jet engine on a pedestal implied inevitability. Missing were cracked blades, fuel shortages, and training hours that never existed. Presentation completed the transformation from tool to legend. Cinema sealed the transfer. Visual shorthand replaced footnotes. Sleek shapes and sudden reversals polished what propaganda roughened, then fed it back as memory. Fiction stabilized belief, where archives hesitated. Academics countered with numbers, production counts, sortie rates, loss curves. The data punctured miracles, but data travels poorly. Stories outrun spreadsheets, especially when stories promise a switch that flips outcomes. The Me Too 62 endures as the warning. Innovation matters, but systems matter more. The myth promised salvation. Reality delivered evolution. The gap between them is where legends breed and persist. If archives like this matter, it's because myths do real work. They move money, bend policy, and outlive facts. The Wunderwaffe factory proves that secrecy plus reality can manufacture belief long after the machines are gone.